Hey readers, so today we'll go through the summary of the chapter The Last Lesson by Alphonse Daudet. The story The Last Lesson is based on the days of Franco-Prussian War, in which France was defeated by Prussia and lost its two districts, Alsace and Lorraine, to Prussia. There are two lead characters of the story, Franz, the schoolboy, and his French language teacher, Mr. M.R.M.HAMEL. The summary begins. Franz started for school very late that morning. He was afraid of being scolded by Mr. M.R.M.HAMEL as he was to ask questions on participles, and he did not know even the first word about them. He thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. The warm, bright day, the chirping birds, and the Prussian soldiers drilling in the open field back of the sawmill were tempting, but he resisted all the temptation and hurried off to school. There was a bulletin board near the town hall on the way to school. Franz noticed the crowd in front of the bulletin board. The blacksmith asked Franz not to go so fast and just have a look on the bulletin board. He assured the boy that he would get plenty of time to reach his school, but Franz ignored him and just ran off to school. Usually there was a great bustle when the school began. But that day everything was as quiet as the Sunday morning. Through the window, Franz saw his classmates already in their places and Mr. M.R.M.HAMEL walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. Franz opened the door and went in. He blushed and was frightened. M.R.M.HAMEL very kindly asked him to go to his place. Franz noticed that their teacher had put on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and a little black silk cap, all embroidered. He wore these only on inspection and prize days. The village people were also sitting quietly on the usually empty back benches. Everyone looked sad. And Hauser had brought an old primer. Hauser is the name of the old men of the village. Then M.R.M.HAMEL declared that it was the last lesson he would give them. Henceforth only German will be taught in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master would come next day. This was their last lesson of French. He wanted them to be very attentive. Franz felt sorry that he did not learn his lessons properly. The idea that M.R.M.HAMEL was going away made the narrator forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. Now Franz understood why M.R.M.HAMEL had put on his fine Sunday clothes and why the old men were sitting in there. They had come to thank the master for his 40 faithful years of service and to show their respect for the country that was theirs no more. M.R.M.HAMEL asked Franz to recite participles, but he stood there silent. The teacher did not scold him. He confessed that his parents and the teacher himself are responsible for the fault. Then he talked of the French language, the most beautiful language and the most clearest in the world, the most logical. He asked them to guard it among them and never forget it. Their language was their key to prison. Their language was the key to their prison. Then they had a lesson in grammar and writing. The pigeons cooed very low on the roof. Franz thought if they would make even the pigeons sing in German. All the while M.R.M.HAMEL was sitting motionless in his chair and gazing at one thing or the other. His sister was packing their trunks in the room above, as they had to leave the country next day. After writing, they had a lesson in history, and then the babies chanted their ba, ba, bi, bo, boo. Even old Hauser was crying. All at once church clocks struck 12, and then midday prayers. At the same moment, the trumpets of the Prussians returning from the drill sounded under the window. M.R.M.HAMEL stood up. He wanted to speak, something choked him. Then he took a piece of chalk and wrote on the blackboard as large as he could, "Vive la France." means long live France. After this, he stopped and leaned his head against the wall. Without a word, he made a gesture with his hand to indicate that the school was dismissed and they might go. So the story ends here. Well, the story highlights the pain that is inflicted on the people of a territory by its conquerors by taking away their right to study their own language. Thank you.